Hi everyone, I'm Doug Black at Inside HPC, and we're at the ISC conference in Hamburg, Germany. And with me now is Debra Goldfarb. She is Director of HPC Products and Services at AWS. Debra, welcome.
Hi, Doug. Great
Hi.
to see you.
Great to see you again. And Debra, tell us a little bit about your role at AWS.
Thanks, Doug. So my role is to reimagine HPC in the cloud. So we have a team of product people and strategy folks who think about the current workloads, the future workloads, and how they would behave on AWS. And we also think about what's coming in the future, so we're ready. And so my job is to make all of that happen.
Now, here at the conference, you spoke about the global food insecurity challenge that AWS is involved in. Tell us a little bit about that.
So about 2 years ago, one of the things I wanted to do very, very badly in my role was to basically cordon off, if you will, not completely, but a subset of folks who are going to be really looking at these extreme global problems and how HPC could affect them. And one of the areas that I've been personally very interested and very vocal about is food insecurity. So we are thinking about the problem from end to end, right? So where do we have data gaps? Where does big compute and AI matter to solve these problems? Do we understand the complexity of the problem statement, right? So what are the extreme interdependencies around the problems, from climate and extreme economic volatility in supply chains to poverty to price dynamic, each sort of the perturbations of pricing, to micronutrient problems, to plant genetics? And can you begin to structure a framework of understanding these problems through big compute, through data science, through new algorithms that might really lend some new insights on how to solve these things? We think HPC and AI are foundational technologies to being able to answer and find some solutions here. So I'm really inspired.
That's great. And during your presentation, you shared a few of the basic statistics. Tell us just a little bit about the degree of food insecurity that there is in the world today.
Yeah. Degree of insecurity. Well, the numbers are staggering. 800 million people live in a state of food insecurity. Another 2 billion are what they call food insecure, which means that they lack the basic foundational micronutrients in their diets. COVID, as well as the war in the Ukraine and just the extreme dynamic, shall we say, volatility in climate right now have just really pushed us over the edge. And so the numbers are increasingly getting worse, particularly in the global south. Women are disproportionately affected, mostly because of these patriarchal kind of societies that are the last at the table. And there's tremendous also human dislocation from war and conflict. So you have these sort of a petri dish of bad things kind of supercharging the problem.
And supply chain.
And supply chain is extreme. I mean, just as a point of fact, the Russian invasion of the Ukraine, enormous amounts of staple foods such as wheat, maize, sunflower oil are really, have Russia and Ukraine as their primary, production points. And so when those are disrupted, you really create more volatility in the system.
Okay, stepping back a little bit, just looking at cloud HPC at AWS, tell us a little bit about demand, growth, and really the sorts of issues you're helping organizations with.
Thanks for the question. It's been just this incredible, exciting ride. The marketplace, when I think of the market, HPC, as you know, is a cottage industry. It's many industries that all demand big compute, different scales of big compute, and some very extreme compute. And so what we're seeing is this really rapid adoption across almost every single domain, from healthcare, life sciences, and drug discovery, where organizations are reimagining their drug discovery pipelines on AWS, everything from data capture off of things like the Illumina devices all the way through molecular dynamics and cryo-EM kinds of workloads. And we're helping these customers assemble these workloads in the cloud, leveraging all the great services and infrastructure and scale that AWS has to offer. we have that end of the spectrum to the public sector, universities, and big, large public sector organizations that we all know are looking to the cloud as a mechanism for scale and having access to a much more rapid technology cycle. And so we're just seeing tremendous, tremendous growth. We were at the Hyperion breakfast this morning, and they talked about an inflection point, and they're spot on. They are absolutely spot on. I mean, customers are in production class deployments, and we're learning along with them. It's been just fantastic. They're teaching us, and we're teaching customers new ways to think about their workload. So the demand is pretty much insatiable.
Now, getting back to the food insecurity issue, the scale of the issues involved there is a great match for the scale of cloud HPC at AWS.
It is. It's scale on so many levels. It's scale on the aggregation of data and the kinds of data that we have at our disposal, and the telemetry coming off of devices from our IoT organization and our ag business. So that's feeding into this, and then the scale of compute and all the differentiation and capacity that we can offer, and then the analytic tools from our SageMaker and foundational model work to traditional HPC that we can couple together. We sit with these researchers and we sit with the scientists and we talk about the art of the possible. Suddenly they can think about, wow, it was an intractable problem yesterday. Today it becomes, how can we get enough capacity in the right time frames that we can actually run these models and run them stochastically, so we can look at sort of differentiation of possible, from a predictive standpoint. So we went from no to now yes, and then how do we understand the data sets that we're developing, and how do we then build them into the kinds of interfaces and portals that the customers on the other end, the farmers, the scientists, the local policymakers, can have access to that data so they can make real decisions. So we're trying to think about that end-to-end, that last mile problem. I don't want the researchers to own all the data. We want them to get out to the field, to the people who really need that insight. So it's a completely different level and scale of capability, and I feel incredibly honored to be able to be part of it.
Tremendous, tremendous work. So we've been with Debra Goldfarb of AWS. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a great day.